Hello guys, am I audible? Okay, okay. Yeah, I think we can go a little fast. I think there was some time waste because of the error. Yeah, so the first thing is list that we're going to learn today. And I hope everyone understood how to create a list. Okay, I think I'll go a little faster. It's 9:47. And how do you access the elements present in the list? Let's say if you want to print something. If you just write subjects and if you run this, you will get an output. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can see you get an output. It says within the subject there is Hindi, English, history, and French. Cool. Now, if you want to access the list, how can you access it? It works on the basis of indexing, just like how in Python it works. So English has the first position, Hindi present in the second position, history in the third, and French in the fourth. So in the same way, if I write subjects and square brackets 1, if I run this, English will be printed. And if I can just change here, if I run this, Hindi will be printed. Hope it is clear. Okay. Now, you might be wondering, in the output, just above the English and just above Hindi, there are like two square brackets, and within that, one is present. And why it is like that is the homework that you guys have to look into it. And now, moving on, how can you change the value in the list? This is also similar to how you manipulate in vector. So if let's say I want to change English to German, what I can do is I can just write subjects and within square brackets 1, because English is present in the first position, I'll just change it to German. And if I do this and if I print subjects, you can see instead of English we have got German in the output. The list has been manipulated. This is how you change the item within the list. Now, if you want to print how many values are present within the list or length of the list, there is also a way. I'll just write little comment. So you can just simply write length and within parenthesis the variable name, that is subjects here. So it says 4, that means within the length list, within the subjects list, there are 4 elements present. I think this is simple. It's just like how it is in Python. Hope there is not a hope there is no problem. Now there is one I can say like an element. Let's say you want to check whether English is present in the list or not. I can just write English, and now this is important to note. You have to write percentage and slash percentage in percentage, and then the name of the list, in this case subjects. If you run this line, basically what this code is doing is it is checking whether English value is present in the list subjects. I get false, that means English is not present within the subjects. Hope this is also clear. Now, coming to the fourth, that is how do you add elements to the list. This is also something I think you will have learnt in Python. There is something called as append function. it basically appends the value to the list, and initially within the append function you specify the name of the list, that is subjects in this case, and then you specify the value that you want to append. Maybe you want to append uh, biology, and if I print subjects after appending biology, yeah, you can see here. So after appending, you have the fifth value within the same list and it is added at the end of the list. You have got biology in the output. Hope this is also clear. And now, if you want to specify when, like where exactly you want to insert it, let's say you want to insert this, or you want to insert chemistry after Hindi, that is after the second value, there is a way you can do that as well. So within the same append function, you specify the name of the list, that is subjects, and after that you specify the value name, that is chemistry, that we want to append, and there is a parameter called as after. If I write after is equal to 2 in the original list, in the output, in the console panel, you can see Hindi is in the second position, and if I set after 2, this chemistry will be added after Hindi. Am I making sense? And are you guys doing the code with me? Okay. Yeah, I think you can see after Hindi, chemistry is present here. Now, going to the next point, that is, how do you remove values from the list? Append didn't work. Okay. Can you check again? Append for biology or chemistry? Which one didn't work? Biology. The thing is, I think what's happening is if you just run the append line, you will get biology in the output. Just look at the shared screen. If I just run this line, which I have selected, you can see biology at the end. And if I run the subjects, there is no biology. Biology is vanished. Maybe the reason might be it is not getting stored in the list. Like it is just, displaying temporarily when you just run this code because you are using the append function and the list name. Am I making sense? Even just look at this line. When I add chemistry, you will not see biology. If I run the biology line first, there is biology. If I run the chemistry line after that, you can see there is no biology. Now biology has vanished, but you can see chemistry because that is the line we have run. Did the code work now? Okay. Now coming to how to remove the values. Remove the values. Now you just specify the name of the list. That is, let's say initially the list is subjects, and if I print this, you have four values. Let's say I want to remove history, which is present in the third position. What I can do is I can create a new list and I can just write subjects square brackets. As history is present in the third position, I'll write -3 just to remove the element or the value which is present in the third point. And after that, if I print the new list, Oh, sorry, there is an error in the name. Yeah, you can see after I removed it, there is no history. There are only like three values: German, Hindi, and French. Let's just check this. We can just create subjects is equal to, yeah, guys. I think my explanation was correct. I just guessed it. The thing is, if we store after appending in a variable, it works. Hope you guys can also try this. Yeah, cool. Now, after this removing basically works on the basis of indexing. If you want to remove multiple variables, that is also something that you can do. So, how do you do that? I can just write within parenthesis, I can write subjects if I want to remove multiple values at the same time. And now within square brackets, I'll write I want to remove second to third. And if I print this, now I have got only two values. Okay. So in this case, what's happening is you're not removing the values, you're just basically like selecting the values. Here, the range 2 to 3 is basically selecting the elements which are present in second and third position. So in the subject, if I run this, I'll get history. Wait, we will just run this line. Now we'll try running this. You can see there is Hindi and history because Hindi is present in the second and history is present in the third position. You're just basically selecting the values which you want to select. So this is how basically the list part works. If you want to loop through the list, I think this is also something we learn in Python. What we can do is we can just basically write like for within parenthesis x in subjects, because that is the name of the list. Now come out of the parenthesis, create a flower bracket, and we can write print x. And if I run this loop, Hindi and history will be printed. Hope you guys understood. Uh, this part should be written within the parenthesis, x in subjects. That is an important point. If you want to join two lists, because list is something that is not limited to a single data type, you can store multiple data types at the same time. So let's say we create one list and we name it X for the moment. We have like numbers, and I create one more list where I have maybe like A, B, C, D. Okay, so we have two lists now, and I want to combine these two lists. So how can I do that? Uh, you create a new variable, let's call it Z, which is going to have all the values of X as well as Y. Now you write C, and then you specify the name of the first list, that is X, and second list, that is Y. So you are basically creating a vector where you have both X values as well as Y values, and you can try printing Z. And if you run this, you have successfully combined the two lists. Now, if you want to print what data type it is Z a vector now or is Z a list now? So if you want to check that, you can just print this. You can see, even though there is just C here in the combined, in the code that we are combining two lists, the type of Z has not changed. It is still a list. This is something which we should not be confused about, because in the code that we are combining, which I have highlighted in the screen, there is no list, you just have C. So everyone clear with the list part? These are some of the important, uh, I can say, okay, hope everyone is clear. Now, shall we just try doing one plotting and then come back to the next data type? Sorry, data structure. I think that will be a little better. Okay, so we'll now do the plotting. To be honest, I think plotting in R, at least the basic plotting, it is little boring compared to matplotlib that we do in Python. So now let's look at plotting. So this is also very simple. Let's say we have a point, and the point is, I'll just write in the comment, it is nothing but it's in the form of x comma y, and the point is um, maybe 2 comma 2. X is also equal to x is 2, and like the value of y is also 2. If you want to plot this on a plane, you can just write plot and within the parenthesis 2 comma 2. And if you run this, you will get a plot here in the plots panel, where you can see there is only one point on the graph and the coordinates of the point are 2 comma 2. Everyone got the plot? Okay. What if you have multiple values? Like there are more than one x values and there are like more than one y values. Basically, like you have multiple points. One way to do it is you can create two variables. Let's name it x, and we have to create vectors basically. Let's say all the x values are like this, and the corresponding y coordinates of the points. I'm repeating, the corresponding y coordinates of the points should be written in the same order. If the x coordinate of the first point was 1, what was the y coordinate of the same point? Let's say it was 2. Then the y coordinate of the second point is 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So basically, you have created two vectors, one is x and one is y. Now you can use the same function plot, and within this you can just specify x comma y, and you will see multiple points in the plot. Did you guys get it? Did the code work? Hello guys. Okay. So you basically have to create vectors and you have to input the two vectors within the plot function. Now, what if you don't want to create a variable? That will just make the code messy. There is one more way to do it. Just look at the code that I'm going to write. I'll just select this part which is highlighted in the screen. I'll copy that. I'll paste it within the plot function. Then I'll insert comma. Then again, I'll select only the values part of the y coordinate, only from C to the endpoint 12. I'll insert it within the plot function. If I run this, you can see we have got the same, the plot, but on the axis you can see the values. Am I correct? On the x-axis, it basically like says it gives you all the values of x, and on y-axis you have all the values of y. and it will just make it look little messier. Okay, now coming to the next point, I'm sure you guys remember when we want to create a sequence, we can just specify the range, something like that. 1 colon 10, that just means all the numbers from 1 to 10. If we insert the same within the plot function, what happens is, you know that from 1 to 10 there are 10 values, and all the 10 values will be considered as y. For example, if I run this code, you can see a plot. In this plot, the x-axis is basically the index. Index, it is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4 till 10. And this value which you have inputted within the plot function, they're considered as y points. Am I making sense? Are you guys understanding? Okay, shall I go ahead? Okay. Now we'll try to manipulate the same code. I'll just copy the same code, come back to the line, and within the parenthesis, let's specify a parameter called as type. You can see the scatter plot now. There is no line connecting the points. If I write type is equal to double quotes L, and if I run this, you can see a line. It basically converts the kind of plot from scatter plot to a line plot where you cannot see single points. You can see only a line which passes through all the points. Hope I'm making sense. I'll just copy the same line and we'll try manipulating it. So now after type, let's specify one more parameter that is called as main. Main is nothing but you have a plot here on the plot panel, but there is no title for the plot. Let's say I want to give, like, this is ridiculous, but like I'm just giving my name. You can see my name is now the title of the plot. Did you guys understand the use of main parameter? It is basically like the title of the plot. Now there are two more parameters called as xlab and ylab. This is nothing but xlabel. If let's say we want to specify xlabel as, I don't know, what can we specify xlabel? Let the name, let this be plot, and this is age, and let's specify y label as maybe, I literally don't know. Let's call it index. So you can see now the x-axis label is age, y-axis label is index, and the title of the plot is plot. Hope everyone understood the use case of those parameters, and you have to specify that within the uh, plot function. Now coming back to the color parameter, if I copy the same line, so like we are basically like building on the same code. Let's specify one more parameter called as color, color, not lour, or you can just write col, and you can specify red like how you do it in English. You can also see the color is also visible in the code. If I write pink, or I can also write like orange, I can write brown, black. So let's go with green. And if I do this, you can see the line, the color of the line is changed to green. If I remove the type parameter, or let's make it O, you can see on the line you have points marked. These are some of the manipulations which you can do. And if I completely remove the type parameter and I run the code, what happens is you have only the scatter points in green color. Hope everyone understood. Okay. Now, how do you control the size of these points? And there is a parameter called as let's make it black, which is I think default. There is a parameter called as CEX, and if you set that to 2, and if you check it, you can see you have like the biggest circles, and if I make it 10, it becomes even bigger. If I make it zero point 0.5, you can see points become smaller. So the CEX parameter, it basically controls the size of the points. It applies only for scatter plot. And next, you can see you have these little circles. What if we can change the shape of it? Like what if we have triangles here, not circles, or we have some other shapes? So there is a parameter called as let me make this to 2 so that it's visible. And there is a parameter called as PCH. Okay. And if we make it to 1, let's try changing it. Yeah, it's working. So the thing is, there is a parameter called as PCH. It basically takes inputs. So the range of PCH can be from 0 to 25. I'm just writing here. Range of PCH is 0 to 25. So you have 26 values. If I change the number here, the shape of the points will change. If I make it 20, you have a different point. If I make it 17, you have a different point. Am I making sense? So you can have like 26 different shapes by just changing the number of that PCH parameter. And the range can be from 0 to 25. And yeah, I think if you want to better understand, if I make it 11, you have a completely different shape. Okay, hope I'm making sense. Shall we go ahead? Okay, I'll just create a sample plot. I think the code is also understandable now. I'll create a linear plot where you have line. So what if we can change the width of this line? So there is a parameter called as LWD, nothing but line width. If you specify this, if you can just try changing the values, you can write 0 0.5, you can write 5, it becomes thicker. Wow, that is not what we want to do. Yeah, I think 1 is good. So the LWD parameter basically controls the line width. And coming to the line style, so we can have multiple types of lines. Like we can have dashed lines where you have like not a continuous line, but there are like dashes. You have little breaks in between. So we can also do that. So for that, let's make the line little thicker. Yeah. There is a parameter called as LTY, which is nothing but line type. The range of this is from 0 to 6. I'll write this. Range of L, sorry, LTY is 0 to 6. So you basically have 7 values to play with. If I write 0, there is nothing. If I write 1, there is a line. If I write 2, there is a dashed line. And 3, I think there are now little dots. And 4, you have a weird shape again. And 5, you have a whole different thing. So you can play with this parameter. This basically changes the type of the line. Hope I'm clear. Now, we will go back to the data structures. Everyone are doing the code, right? I just wanted to confirm. You guys are learning. Okay, okay. Now, coming back to the data structures. Now, let's learn matrix. I think this is also something very important. I'll just write matrix structures. Okay, so we will learn matrix. So, everyone has learned mathematics in class 12th or like completed matrix in your, I don't like first year. Okay, so all of you know how matrix looks. So, you have rows and you have columns. Now, let's create one matrix and then we will start to understand how to manipulate it. Now I think the plot thing is over. Can just remove this. So I'll just create maybe X, which is a matrix, capital X. Let this be a matrix. And how do we create a matrix? So there is a function called as matrix. Within that, you initially have to specify all the values that you want to uh, have within the matrix. If I can write 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So we have basically 6 values. And now there is a parameter called as n row, which is nothing but number of rows. So how many rows can we have? This is also something we can have 6 rows and we can have 1 columns. I hope everyone agrees. You guys know how the shape of the matrix can be changed, right? The total number of values should be same. So I can write n col, which is nothing but number of columns. If I write, okay, there is no error. If I just print the x, you can see the one which I have highlighted, it is the index of the column, which basically says it is the first column. But on the side, you can see within the square brackets, first row, second row, till the sixth row. And without the brackets, which you can see are the numbers that are present within the matrix. Are you able to understand how to interpret the output and which is the matrix part and which is the, uh, index of the matrix? Am I making sense? Okay, I'll repeat. In the output panel, in the console panel, you have numbers, but you can see there are few numbers which don't have square brackets, but on the side and on the top you see few numbers which have square brackets. So our focus should be on the numbers which don't have square brackets, and that is the matrix. The one which you can see which have the square brackets are nothing but column numbers and row numbers. Am I making sense now? Okay, let's just change the shape of the matrix. Let's make it 3 cross 2. There are 3 rows and there are 2 columns. You can see the output shape has changed. Now you have 2 columns, you have 3 rows. And I can also make 2 rows and 3 columns. So I can just print this again. You have a different matrix now. Only 2 rows and 3 columns, and within the square brackets you have the row number and column number. Do you guys understand? I mean, like how to create a matrix from the scratch. Okay. And it is not that you have to have numbers within the matrix. You can also have strings, like you can have characters. And how can you access a value? So here you can see the one which I have highlighted is 3, and it is present in the first row and in the second column. If I can write here on the coding panel, 1 comma 2. If I run this, you can see I get 3 as the output. This is how you have to fetch a value from a matrix, by basically specifying the row number first, comma the column number. And what if you want the first row, I mean the whole, you want 1, 3 and 5. In that case, don't write a comma, but leave it as it is. Like, don't write anything after comma. You can see 1, 3, 5. You have basically selected the first row, and when you don't specify anything for columns, it basically assumes that you are selecting all the columns. So basically what happened is first row got selected and all the columns got selected. You have 1, 3, 5. Am I making sense? Okay. Now what if you want to select one column? Let's say like you want to select all the rows but the first column. You just reverse the position of the comma. You can see 1 and 2, which is nothing but 1 is present here, 2 is present here. You have selected the first column. That is something that you can see in the output. Hope this is also clear. What if we want to access multiple rows? Let's just change the shape for easy understanding. I'll just make this 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay. Now, what if we want to access multiple rows? Like we want to select first row as well as the second row, but we don't want to take the third row. If you want me to visualize this is how the matrix looks like. There are 3 rows and 2 columns. We want to take 1, 4 and 2, 5. We want to remove or we want to exclude 3, 6. So how do we do that? So for that, you write x and you write square brackets. And now within the square brackets, you know that you have to specify row comma columns. When you want to select multiple rows, you basically use C. Like you have to write C within parenthesis. I'll write 1 comma 2. Like I want to select first row as well as second row. I don't write anything here, which basically means I want to select all columns. If I print this, you can see 1, 4 and 2, 5 are selected. Did you guys understand this? Like when you want a single row to be selected, there is no C present. When you want multiple rows to be selected, C is present. In the same case, if you want to select multiple columns, you can do the same. I'll just copy this and I can paste it here and just change the position of the comma. That comma first and then the C, which will basically, yeah, I don't think there will be any difference. The whole matrix will be printed. So basically my point was, this is how you select multiple columns and multiple rows. And now, what if you have a row and you want to add that row to the matrix? Now, coming to adding rows. So, there is something called as rbind, which is nothing but binding rows. And then there is one more function called as cbind, which will basically like binding columns or adding columns. Now, if I print x, you can clearly see this is how it looks. What if I want to print 7, 8 below 3 and 6? So how do I do that? So I can create updated x. I think that will make more sense. Updated x, and I have to write rbind because like I'm adding rows, and within rbind I have to specify the name of the matrix. In this case, it is x, and then within C, I specify the values that I want to add. So I want to add right below 3, I want to add 7, and right below 6, I want to add 8. And now let's try printing updated X. Let's check if this works. Oh yeah, it worked. Did you guys understand? So R bind is nothing but like vertical binding. You are bringing this set and you are like adding it at the bottom. This is a row, right? So that's how it worked. What if you had a whole column and you wanted it next to this? Like you want a third column. For that, we have something called as C bind, which is nothing but column binder, which adds columns horizontally. So if I create same updated X, let's call it updated X, and let's say if we want to use column bind, C bind, and again we have to specify the matrix to which we want to bind the column to, and now we have to write the values that we want to bind. Now this is very important. When you want to bind column, the number of values should be equal to number of rows. Am I making sense? For example, in this initial matrix, if you want to insert a third column, you can have only three values written under the column header because there are only three rows present. That's why within C, I can only specify three values. I can write like 9, 10, 11. And if I print updated X, yeah, you can see we have got a third column. You have got 9, 10, and 11. What happens if we have like more than three values? I'll write 12 also. We have error here. Number of rows of the result is not a multiple of vector length argument 2. I did not understand the error, but the logic is it should be equal to number of rows. Okay, I did not understand this vector length part. And this is how you bind rows and you bind columns. Now coming to how can we remove columns and how can we remove rows? This is also very easy. If I print X, we have three rows and two columns. Let's say I want to eliminate the first row. I can write minus C because I want to remove at within C the position of the row. If I want to remove the first row completely, like I want to remove the highlighted part completely, within this minus C, I'll write 1 and then write comma and then just leave it. You can see the first whole row is eliminated. Are you guys understanding? If I want to eliminate second column as well, I can just write minus C within parenthesis 2 because I want to eliminate the second column. In this case, I'll get only 2 and 3. I hope you guys are understanding. We eliminated the second column completely and the first row. So we are left with only two values, that is 2 and 3. Okay, cool. What if you want to check if a value exists within a matrix? So this is also like how you do it for a list. You write value. Let's say I want to check if 90 is present within the matrix. I'll just write matrix name X. It says false. That just means 90 is not present in X. Hope you guys understood. This percentage within, you write in within the two percentages. That will just basically help in checking if the item is present or not. And if you want to know the shape of the matrix, there is a function called as dimension. and you can just basically write the name of the matrix. You get 3 and 2 as the output, which is nothing but it says there are 3 rows and 2 columns. It is like row comma column. That's how the output structure is. And there is also something called as length for a matrix. Length. Yeah, if I write x here and I run this, it gives 6, which is nothing but totally there are 6 values present within the matrix. Are you guys understanding? Okay. So how can you combine a two matrix? Again, you can use rbind function and cbind function, which I'll not go into again. If you want to combine two matrices, like horizontally, you use cbind. If you want to combine two matrices vertically, you use rbind. So that is the logic. And how do you do that? If I want to show you, like new matrix, let's say there is M1 is one matrix and M2 is second matrix. If you want to uh, join these two horizontally, you can create like M3 and you basically write C bind M1 comma M2. Am I making sense? If you want these two to be joined vertically, you can write R bind M1 comma M2. Are you guys getting it? Hello. Okay. Yeah. Guys, it's 10:33. Shall we learn plotting a little, or you guys want me to end the class today till this topic? What can we do? Let me know in the chat because it's 10:30, right? What shall we do? Shall we learn plotting a little bit, or okay, everyone is okay with learning plotting? Okay, so we'll learn plotting a little bit, and then we will come back again. Like we'll end the class. Sorry, we'll end the class. So coming back to plotting, I think we were in line plot. So what if you have two lines and you want to display two lines on the same plot? So to show you one example, in that case, I'll just write plotting. And when you have two lines or like two set of points, to better explain you, like you have x1, y1, this is one set, like you have maybe like 10 points within this set, 10 for each, 10 for each. And then you have another set of points, x2 comma y2. Again, you have 10 for each. Like 10 points. What if you want to display these two together on a single plot? I think you will understand when we plot this better. So let me just create like two lines. We can call it x1. So within a vector, I'll just randomly write few values. So I'll write 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, I'll create one more variable and again create a vector and write random values 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I think that should be enough. Okay, so now we have two different set of values, and if we want to visualize these two on the same plot, what happens? Uh, Plot. Initially, you will have to use plot function, and let's say I use y1 and the same parameters. I think you will understand. We want it to be a line, and we want the color of the line to be, let's say, in, I think orange will be bad, right? Maybe black. Okay. What happens if I, okay, sorry, select this. Yeah. So you have got a plot. You can see this y1 vector is all the y points, and x is automatically considered like the index. And when you plot this, you have a straight line, a linear plot. Are you guys understanding? Now we will try to overlay one more line on the same plot. Did you guys understand how this code worked and what we have plotted? Okay, what if we want to, plot y2 vector? In that case, you will not use one more plot function. This is something that you have to be very careful of. Like when you use a plot function again, a new plot will be created in the plot panel. And you guys don't want to do that. Like you just want a new line on the same plot. In that case, create, like write lines, and within the parenthesis, write the values in the same order. Like I want to plot y2, and again the type should be linear, there should be a straight line, but I want the color to be different. I want color to be red. And if I run this, you can see one more line on the same plot. Am I making sense? Did you guys get it? So initially we used plot function because we wanted to create a plot. After that, we wanted to overlay one more line on the same plot. That's why we used lines function. Okay, hope I'm making sense. There is no confusion. If anyone wants me to explain the uh, concept again, just let me know. It's 10:39. Okay. We will leave by 10:45. So you guys are very well aware that in scatter plot, you don't have a line, you just have points. So if I write this and I run it, it's a scatter plot. What if I don't want two different set of points? For example, if I can copy the same code, but I want scatter plots, I don't want two different lines of two different color. I want two different colored points. If I'm making sense, just remove the type parameter again from the second code. Now in the code, you can see that you have y1 and color black, y2 and color red. But as we want scatter points, change the lines to points and see what happens. If we do this, you have basically got two different colored points on the same plot. Am I making sense? Only when you want to draw two lines, you will use line function in the second line after plot. If you want to plot only the points but not a straight line, use this points function. Am I confusing you or are you guys getting it? 10 for each do. Oh, okay, okay. So what I was basically trying to say was, how can I say it? Like x1 is one column name, and under this column you have 10 points. 10 points. And you have one more column called as y1, which is storing the corresponding y coordinates of the same point. If I'm making sense. Now you have 10 points for the same. All the points on the plane are in the form of x comma y. So you have x coordinate value and corresponding y coordinate value. So basically you have 10 points with 10 x coordinates and y coordinates. In the similar way, for a different scenario, you again have x comma y points, and I have just named it as x2 and y2. Am I making sense? Like this 2 points in two different color is nothing but, when you want to visualize how two different categories vary, if I'm making sense. I think those who are in ML, I think you guys will understand this. There was a parameter called as hue, and when you set it to some column, it will basically highlight different values present in that column. So you don't have a hue parameter here. Instead of that, if you want to overlay two different kind of points or two different lines, you can write it in this way. Dhwani, are you able to understand? Okay, now going to the next. Okay, I'll just teach you one more thing and then we will leave. Everyone knows pie chart. I think this is also something we learn in 12th. Okay, so pie chart is nothing but you have a circle and the whole circle will be divided based on, I think you will be better able to understand. If I create a variable x and within x, let's say there is 10, maybe 50, and then 20, 20. So total is 100. Yeah. So if I write pi and within pi, if I pass x, you have a pie chart. You can see there are like four different regions within the circle. As you can see, within x, first point was 10. So in the in the circle, 10% of the area is basically for the first point, and 50% of the area is for the second point, and similarly, 20% for the third and 20% for the fourth. It is not that always whatever you write within this region should sum up to 100. If it is not, then it will basically calculate percentage of contribution, or I can say, oh, that was understandable. Okay, then great. So this is how you plot the pie chart, but we will learn the modifications of pie chart in the next session. And maybe I'm planning to stop our programming for some time. Maybe I think like in VTOP it says our programming, but if coding is becoming little boring, we'll jump into non-coding part for 1 or 2 sessions, then we will come back to the R programming again. What do you guys say? Like we'll learn some websites in depth and then we'll come back to this R programming. Okay, so in VTOP it will say that it is R programming, but we'll try to see what we can do. So I think that is all. Any doubts? Okay, there is no doubt. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Have a great day. Good night.